While it is the nature of a mother to love their child even before they bring them to this world, this surprisingly is sometimes not the case.
But ile immediate love, how
immediate love mimi sikuifeel actually, but sikuifeel. Niko tu za hizi mashida zote nimepitia. Nitakupenda kweli, like hiyo feeling itagrow.
According to a research done by National Institute of Health, 1 in every 8 women experience postpartum depression after having their baby. So what is postpartum depression and how does it come about? And what is the Ministry of Health doing as a duty bearer to ensure that they help such kind of mothers? I'll be answering this and many others in this special feature. My name is Kawera Rose Nyaga, and this is a stressful blessing. I embarked on a journey to find Jane, not her real name, a young woman who has for the last 3 years battled postpartum depression. When Jane opened up about the pregnancy to her then university lover, her suspicions about his response were confirmed, and that was the beginning of a rough patch characterized by mental instability.
November after exams, ndo tu hata Jumi nilikuwa nakaa shule, alikuwa nakaa nje. So hatukumekupatana na mimi, hata singemwambia tutumeti kuna kitu yenye nataka kukuambia. Nilichukua tu simu yangu nikamtext, nikamwambia venye niko. Na nikamwambia mimi venye najua mzazi wangu anaweza kuwa so disappointed in me. Na nijipata hata ameniambia kuna shule ananilipia. Nifanye nini niende kwa huyo kijana nilipiange shule? Mimi nikamwambia hivyo kila kitu. Sasa yeye mimi nilimtext WhatsApp na nikatoka. Na hiyo time nilikuwa na stress sana actually. Kazi yangu tu ilikuwa kulia every now and then. Nikifikiria tu ni shida gani nimejipata kwa yenyewe, nitajitoa huku aje. Sasa after kumwambia, aliniambia hakuna vile tunaweza deal na yenyewe. Mimi kuona tu hiyo text nikajua ni hivyo. Niko tu peke yangu sasa.
Deche William, a psychologist at Befrienders Kenya, an organization that deals with suicide prevention, encourages education to young men about mental health and how it relates to early pregnancy. This, he says, will help them embrace responsibility.
As an individual, we run away from what we don't understand, or we tend to attack what we don't understand. And therefore that could possibly explain the reaction to when the man would run away from that experience, because the lack of understanding. If we understand that they do not understand, it is up to us to educate and make them understand that it is a problem.
Postpartum depression is a form of depression that a mother can experience within the first few weeks, months, or even up to a year after having a baby.
So postpartum depression is depression that follows childbirth. So this is depression that happens after childbirth. But we're usually saying that it's not the person who has given birth to the child that is affected by postpartum depression, but it could be the father also who is in the relationship. It could be a surrogate who just gave birth to a child and they had to hand over that child. It could be a parents who are adopting children and now they have to stay with them. So postpartum depression could mean any depression after acquiring a child.
10 to 16% of women with postpartum depression begin experiencing symptoms during pregnancy. For Jane, suicidal thoughts sneaked in after the father of her unborn child refused to take responsibility. At some point, the pressure from the society became unbearable and Jane attempted to take her life and that of her child.
There is this time yenye nishajaribu kujiua, yani najifinya tu shingo peke yangu juu ya stress niko nazo. Najifinya hata nikisikia uchungu, yani mimi si mind, like nataka tu nitoke kwa hii dunia. Just like kama nikutoa mtoto ni pia mimi nisi survive. Kama nikukufa acha tukufe sisi wote. Sasa nile tu yani niko na stress. Hiyo siku nilijifinya shingo nika pass out. Na hakuna mtu alijianga huko. Juu hakuna mtu hata alinipata. Ile tu nikakaa peke yangu, venye niligain conscious tena naamka. Nikoza bado niko hai. Mbona nisikufe tu mara moja? Si hata tu Mungu tu anichukue tu hata kivyake. Yaani anichukue tu hata isikuwe ni eti nilicommit suicide kitu kaa hiyo. So nilikuwa tu nafikiria mara nyingine unapata nimechukua hata dawa ya kupulizia hizo maplants huko. Tena in my mind niliona tu hapana, sifai kukunywa hizi vitu. Nijaribu ama nisijaribu. Sana najiambia tu nijaribu ama nisijaribu.
Hilda Ayabei, a counseling psychologist at Befrienders Kenya, says the suicidal thoughts are a result of the untreated depression.
So oftentimes suicide is a consequence or a symptom of an underlying mental health issue. So when it comes to postpartum depression or someone who having suicidal ideation has attempted suicide, it means that there is an underlying untreated condition. So what is the relationship between the two? Suicide was a consequence of postpartum depression.
Susan also adds that the strong suicidal thoughts majorly comes about due to hopelessness.
You want to kill the baby because you have no hope. Depression is a point where you have a lot of shame, anxiety, sadness, and hopelessness. So when you have no hope, then you don't see how tomorrow will look like. You see that you're a trouble to this baby. That's why you want to kill yourself. You're not good enough for this baby. Or you're seeing this baby, maybe is a baby who's been born with a deformity. And you're saying you're not even good to be in this world, and you want to it's better you're dead. So you want to kill the baby. You want to kill yourself. Why? Because you're anxious, you're guilty, you're in pain, you're really sad, and you have no hope for the future.
Susan Owor highlights that lack of a support system during pregnancy predisposes pregnant women to postpartum depression.
Maybe the person who got you pregnant is not there. So your support system is really not there. And because you're also young, when you talk about the support system, you've disappointed your family, disappointed your parents, and nobody's there. Nobody wants to associate with you. Your friends' parents are telling, don't hang out with that girl. She's pregnant. Can't you see? Don't you want to be? So you find this human being, number one, does not have a support system, a support structure from the society and from the family. Number two, they are financially incapable of taking care of a child. That's another stressor. Number three, they are immature enough to take care of a child. They don't have the resources, they don't have the maturity.
Although postpartum depression can affect mothers across all age groups, the young ones, especially those who got pregnant unexpectedly, are at a higher risk. For many years, Kenya has tried to fight teenage pregnancies, but the fruits have proven to be minimal owing to the research that was released recently by the Ministry of Health.
Teenage pregnancies continue to be a biting pandemic, not just in Kenya, but also in some other countries. But now the unfortunate thing is that Kenya is now ranked number 3 in countries most affected by teenage pregnancies. But now you see, we saw this coming. Over time, we've been dealing with issues related to child marriages, to issues relating to girls dropping out of school because of early motherhood. And I think the COVID-19 pandemic and lockdown measures that were input really, really restricted the access to awareness programs, events, and workshops that girls used to get when they were in school. I still feel we have a duty to increase the awareness, even at a personal level, because much of the country is still remote. We've got people that cannot access electricity and healthcare centers enough for them to have these workshops and these empowerment programs and these mentorship workshops that tell them how to deal with teenage pregnancy right from beginning through having it up to the postpartum period for very many young girls.
When Jane finally delivered, it was just a continuation of the mental torture, and she didn't even feel the mother-child love at first.
Like nilikuwa nashindwa sasa, kaka mtu kweli nitakapenda mimi nilikuwa nasema nitakapenda sasa surely. After shida zote nimepitia, hii stress yote, juu actually kama kuna stress yenye nilipitia mimi si ya financial support ama nini, ni ile emotional support.
But ile immediate love
Immediate love mimi sikuifeel actually, bado sikuifeel. Niko tu za hizi mashida zote nimepitia, nitakupenda kweli, like hiyo feeling itagrow. Hiyo yenye unajua sasa, hata si mtoto unaambiangu mama akimpata anaplesiwa tu mwenyewe kwa chest. Mungu alichukulianga tu direct kwa hizi za OC za watoto nursery, huko ndiko alipelekwa direct, juu singe make kuketi chini ni mshige.
Her frustrations now spilled over to her newborn baby, something that Jane says however much she tried was unable to control.
Unapata mtoto akianza kulia, mimi sijui nini ilikuwa ina happen, yani tu akili yangu nasikia tu siko sawa. Nikijaribu hata kukanyamazisha akanyamazi. Sasa najipata tu na kagonga na yani namshautia. Nikimshautia hivyo tu akiniangalia tu nasikia tu vibaya. Unaona? Hata akinyamaza niko zaidi. Like mbona nisielewe huyu mtu ni mtoto? Huyu ni mtoto na kuna vitu zenye atafanya zenye anafaa tu apelekwe polepole. Lakini hata nikijipata kwa ile situation tena, yani nakaa tu akili inachemka, yani inanipeleka mbio, siwezi fikiria. Na kagonga nafanya nini. Hata kama sina kenyewe hapo, time nyingine kuna time yenye najipata tu hata kama nimeshikilia kitu hivi, naanza tu kutetemeka bure. Unapata tu nimeangusha, kama ni sahani, kama ni glass, kama vitu zote tu naangusha tu zikivunjika.
One of the signs that could differentiate postpartum depression is when now you want to even, throw away your child. They don't want to hold their baby. They don't want to take care of their baby. They're not taking care of themselves. They don't even want to see their friends. They are disinterested in the things that they used to love. You have extreme sadness, prolonged sadness, crying for no particular reason, and most of all, not even taking care of your child.
Mm-hmm. Susan says that in most cases, the child could trigger negative emotions depending on how the child was conceived.
It's very normal. It's extremely normal. It's like if you had an accident in a particular road. Every time you pass that road, you'll remember that accident. You'll find that it is normal to, and it should not be condemned, and it should never be looked at something that should not be spoken about. But a child can trigger negative emotions, and you need to be aware of that. This child could be as a result of rape. You did not consent to a sexual act. It reminds you of that, and you need to be aware and make appropriate decisions on that. This child could have robbed, your youth. This child could remind you of anything, but it's up to you to decide, what am I going to allow this child to remind me of?
In 2015, the Ministry of Health put in place a Kenya Mental Health Policy 2015-2030 in line with the country's Vision 2030, with an aim of attaining the highest standard of mental health by then. So what is the Ministry of Health doing at the grassroots towards attaining this goal?
We've partnered with the government and we do one major event, September 10th, that is the World Suicide Prevention Day, where we talk about suicide at large. We explain it, we expound on it. We talk about the situations that can lead to suicide. We talk about the postpartum depression, because this is one of the areas that actually contribute to suicide. Yes.
According to Lovelyn Carey, the mental health care of mothers is something that is yet to be prioritized.
On the mental health care of mothers, I feel that it has been overlooked, yes, because again, as a developing country, most of our activities and practices are still affected by the cultural traditions and barbaric practices. And for a very long time, maternal health care and postpartum duties and issues have long been seen as a women's problem only. And most of the policy makers, even in the healthcare sector, are men. And so when we talk about healthcare and issues and policy surrounding it, most of these issues actually that are postnatal are not highlighted. But at a time where we have more women stepping into public, government, and even private leadership spaces, I feel that we are going to be addressing these kind of issues so that women's healthcare and even mothers' healthcare in general is actually addressed.
Although the Ministry of Health has made some steps towards realizing mental stability among mothers, there's still much that needs to be done.
The ministry inaweza provide a way of kuoffer therapy na support kwa our mothers. Wawasaidie tu in a way of kucope na hiyo time and a way of help in improving their mental stability.
The leaders also have a critical role to play to ensure that the mental status of mothers is taken care of.
Should I be elected into office as the MCA, I would totally take it up my initiative because I think it is a responsibility of the member of county assembly to oversee the implementation of policies that have been suggested and even passed. So once we take these kind of proposals to have workshop programs, to have awareness and counseling services that can be conducted through mobile services, because now we don't have so very many healthcare centers, especially in my ward. I think we have only 5 healthcare centers that are accessible, but they're not as effective as we would want them to be. Most of them do not offer the maternal healthcare services, and therefore it goes without saying that counseling and psychology is also not as much accessible as we would like.
The good news is that postpartum depression can be treated and cured if the patient is willing to accept their condition and seek medical and counseling help.
Postpartum depression, you will find that there's medication for that. Anti-anxiety therapies and medications, and medication for mental disorders that your doctor will prescribe accordingly. We also have, very importantly, now psychotherapy. And psychotherapy will include, in common words, saying talk therapy. And this is where you either see a coach or you see a counselor or any form of therapist. You want to really invest in talking. Mm-hmm. You want to express yourself. You want somebody who will listen to you. You want someone who will help you structure your thinking. You want someone to help you move forward. You also want to be in a group setting. You want to be in a social support setting. Be close to mothers who are experiencing the same as you. You'll find a mother is experiencing the same thing you're also experiencing. So that is key. Again, very importantly, exercise and eat well. Rest well. Those are important. As simple as they look like, they have a lot of weight.
The male figures in our community, especially the fathers, Joseph says they need to come in and offer emotional support to such mothers.
Your father, probably those ladies who get pregnant and they deliver at home, fathers are there. You see, the thing is we will start judging. Probably as a father, you will be like, my daughter went against what I thought. But it is a hard time that you as a parent, as a father figure, you come in and fill that gap. But if you bring that issue of you are getting mad and you're thinking about your school fees or thinking about the wasting of resources that your daughter has done, will only bring a lot of problems. Yes, the girl has gotten pregnant or has delivered. The father figure is not there. But what we think, or what I think, is that we can bring the men together. We can talk to the fathers. We can talk to the uncles. So if you bring that woman close to you, you will have saved a life.
The government, the society, and the non-governmental institutions have a critical role to play to ensure that mothers going through postpartum depression are offered treatment and the emotional support that they need. My name is Kawera Rose Nyaga.